Hi friends, I'm Jen with the Budget Bounce. We are living life on a budget and fighting our way out of a mountain of stupid debt. We talk about personal finance and life on this channel. So if that's something that is up your alley, make sure to hit that subscribe button right down below. And make sure to hit the bell so that you will get notifications every time we upload a video, which currently is every Wednesday. If you've been around the Budget Bounce for any amount of time, you will probably notice that I am filming in a different location in the house this time. I actually have the house completely and totally to myself, with the exception of the dog and the two cats. Everyone is away today. They're off to a birthday party for Henry and Xanthi's little brother. And so Matt always drives them down there for that. So he's gone with them. And so I thought I'd take advantage of this natural light that we have upstairs in the living room and see if I could make this work. So the camera's moving just a little bit because if I move at all, then the computer moves. So just bear with me. So today we're going to be talking about sinking funds. So let's just jump right in. I do have some notes down here on my computer, so please pardon me as I look away to make sure that I cover everything that I want to go over with you today. So first of all, what are sinking funds used for? Well, they're funds that you save a small amount every month over a period of time. So you determine what that period of time is, and there's an end goal that you're trying to reach. Expenses, sinking funds are used for expenses that are substantial, whether they're on a regular or irregular basis, that we need to have money for when the time comes. So some examples of that include Christmas. We know it comes in December every year. Let's not be surprised by that anymore. And another thing is my Amazon Prime. This month is May, and my Amazon Prime subscription is coming up for renewal, and it's $99. So I set up a sinking fund for that, so that when I pay that $99 this month, I will just have that already on hand, and it will not actually impact our budget. Sinking funds can also be used for things like a new car fund or a vacation fund if you're planning some travel for yourself or you and your family. All of those are possibilities. We actually have many sinking funds set up. We are not using them all right now, but I have the account set up so when the time comes, we can take advantage of them. Next, why should you use a sinking fund? Sinking funds prevent the panic that comes with expenses that aren't necessarily a line item on your budget. So they prevent you from going into debt over things that are irregular yet planned expenses. And they do require some planning and patience, but they have a huge return on investment in the form of financial security, confidence, and much lower stress levels when it comes to your finances. So how do sinking funds differ from a savings account? There are actually two characteristics that set them apart. First of all, a sinking fund is for a specific purpose, and there's a goal amount set. For example, I just used our sinking fund last night for our wedding anniversary that is coming up this week. And we actually went out this weekend because it falls on a Tuesday, and that's just not going to work for our schedules to celebrate on the day. We actually decided to have Henry go with us. There was a big movie opening this weekend that my boys did not want to wait to go see. And so I looked at Matt and said, okay, listen, you and I can go have a nice dinner or have a date night or however you want to do it. We have X amount of money, or the three of us can go to the movie and go somewhere fast food for a quick dinner instead of eating at home. What do you prefer? And when he realized that we weren't going to have to wait another week or two to go see this movie that they've been chomping at the bit to see, he jumped on that and said, absolutely, let's include Henry. Let's all three go. That's, that was his preference. And I'm totally okay with that because it's one of the new Marvel movies. It's, for those of you out there who know anything about that, it's the Avengers Infinity War. And Yeah, it was really good. And so, because of them, I've really gotten into the whole Marvel world. We even watched the DC stuff too. Anyway, I totally digress. But my point being, we went out last night and celebrated, and we had money in the bank for that because I had set it aside in a sinking fund, which now will reset, and we will set aside money every month until next year. So, to get a sinking fund, you would just open a savings account at any bank or credit union, and you make sure that it doesn't have any minimum balance required because you do not want your sinking fund to be eaten up by fees. So make sure you're paying close attention to that detail when you go to set up your accounts. And then you just put a line item in your budget every month for that. So I have a wedding anniversary line item in our budget, and it's $15 a month that we're saving up until next year. So how does a sinking fund differ from an emergency fund? Typically, an emergency fund is set aside for the unknown, and they're for things like substantial car maintenance or repairs, furnace replacement, things that you like, they happen unexpectedly and you need to get that fixed immediately. We would have loved to have had a sinking fund last year. We'd had our newest vehicle for about 6 months when one of our tires got a screw or a nail in the sidewall and had to be replaced. And because we called around to 4 different places asking them if they would just replace the one tire, and all of them said, no, you have to replace all 4 because on the newer vehicles, if there's more than X amount difference in the tread, they all have to be replaced at once. So we were hit with an unexpected, I think it was almost $600. We have an SUV, so those tires were expensive. And, that's something that today we actually have a vehicle maintenance fund. But back then we weren't on a budget and we were not thinking ahead, and we had a new car. We never dreamed in a million years you would have to pay $600 extra. So anyhow, that's a perfect example of what became an emergency because we didn't have a sinking fund. We would have used our emergency fund. And actually this month, we did have an emergency that I'll be talking about in our April budget report. So make sure you check into that to see how that all went. So where should you keep your sinking funds? First of all, it needs to be someplace you cannot easily get to it. The bigger the amount, the more secure you want your fund, whatever it might be. So for example, if you have to save $100 for your niece's upcoming high school or college graduation, for a gift for her, then it's probably okay to just save that in an envelope in the house somewhere. But if you're saving hundreds or even thousands of dollars, then a simple savings account or at a bank or a credit union is definitely the way to go. And here's how I have done this in the past. I did it even before we started budgeting. I actually, we have a credit union that our car loans have been running through for some time. And I purposely did not set up a checking account at that credit union, and I did not get an ATM card for our savings account. That way, it literally is a pass-through for our car loans, for our monthly payments, and for the life insurance that we pay for my personal, I have a policy that we pay outside of my work. So that keeps us, honest. Like, it makes it a lot harder to get to the money. I either have to wait several days to transfer it, or I have to actually go to the bank, which I despise doing. I won't go in unless you absolutely make me. I will find time to get to the drive-thru if I have to, but I'd much rather not have to mess with it at all. I'd just like to avoid it altogether. The other thing that we've done is we have accounts set up in 2 other online banks. Capital One 360, which if you've been watching any YouTubers out here talking about personal finance, whether it's the Dave Ramsey plan or anything else, many of them are using Capital One 360 accounts. It's an online bank. There is no brick and mortar to go to. You can get to ATMs all over the place. And excuse me, you can set up lots and lots of funds for free with no minimum balances, no monthly fees, and it earns interest. I have to check, but I think that it's around 0.75%, which is more than you're getting anywhere else outside of investments. So For instance, I put $25 in a new account one month, and at the end of the month, I got 4 cents in interest. In other like regular banks and even the credit union, if I do that, I'm lucky if I get 5 cents for the whole year. So for sure, Capital One 360 is a good place to keep your sinking funds, especially if you're going to be sitting on some money for a little bit, because it's going to accumulate some interest for you. So by the way, I do have a link down below in the description if you would like to set up a Capital One 360 account. That is a referral link down there. So if you click on it and open an account, you'll get some free money, and so will I. I do believe it's $25 for you and $20 for me. But just wanted to be full disclosure here that absolutely that's a referral link. So if you open an account, I'm going to get a referral bonus for it. That said, the other bank that I use is USAA Savings. So Matt is a veteran, and so we were able to open up accounts with USAA, and I honestly don't know if USAA has any brick and mortar locations. They do not anywhere near where we are. I know they're big down in Texas because they're actually a competitor for the types of employees that we hire down there for our locations in San Antonio and in the Dallas area. But up here where we're at, in the Midwest, I've never seen a USAA bank here. What we do there is I have some long-term sinking funds there. So that's things like we want to get a new a central air conditioner unit that's going to cost a few $1,000s. I have our wedding anniversary one is in there too. And I believe there's a laptop fund that I set up there. And I can't remember what else, but those are the types of things, or things that are, the estate planning one. I'm going to talk about that a little bit here. Those are all in there. So all of those things, the reason why I chose those banks is because they are harder to get to. I have to really want it to go in and get that money, but they're super easy to put money into because I can just set transfers up to go in every month. So those are some examples of where you can keep them. So when should you set up sinking funds? You want to use them whenever you have an expense that you need time to prepare for. So Matt and I want to do some estate planning, and that would include things like wills, power of attorney, and medical directives. We have actually already talked to a local firm here about that, and the cost is $850 to set up those for both of us. And we'll use a sinking fund to save that money, which I just mentioned is actually set up in USAA. It does not have any money in it today, and this is why. If you are not yet making minimum payments on all of your debt, you shouldn't do sinking funds. At least not very many and not very much. You should not be doing them at all if you are not making all of your minimums. You can do a couple of things to get the funds that you need if you have an expense coming up that you need to have some money for. You can sell some stuff. That's on our list of things. We have a yard sale that we're planning on doing. Matt and Xanthi are going to do that later this spring, probably later this month or in June. And we also have, my husband has an eBay store and all of that, so we can do it through there. It's called Owen's Place, and he, goes and buys things and resells them there. But we're talking about, like some of our clothes and things like that, getting those out there as well. Also, you can work overtime at your job if that's available. As a salaried exempt employee in my management position, that is not available to me. But I know there are so many professions out there that actually offer overtime, time and a half. And if, depending on where you're working, you might be able to get double time. There's opportunities to work on holidays. When you're really, really trying to get out of debt, there are sacrifices that you make. And sometimes it's time, possibly away from your family so that you can earn extra funds so that you can find your way out of debt. You can get a side hustle. Those include, Dave talks about delivering pizzas. You can babysit. One of my favorite channels is Kelly with Freedom and a Budget. And while she was getting out of debt and cash flowing her, saving up to cash flow her wedding, she was babysitting every opportunity that she got and made hundreds of dollars every month doing that. So absolutely, you can do that. You can walk dogs. You can clean houses. Care.com is something that I've actually used to find someone to clean our house. And if the opportunity arises for you and you have the time, you can use Care.com and set up a profile to go out there and try to get work. And I don't know anyone personally who has used it to get work, but I know that it works because as somebody who was looking for someone, we had a cleaning lady for 2.5 years who did a great job for us. So we got really lucky on, we interviewed like 3 people, I think, and we got really lucky with her. So that's what I've got for you today on sinking funds. Hopefully you have a better understanding of what they are and how you can use them to help manage your finances. If you use sinking funds, I'd love to hear from you about how you are using yours. And, if you are doing anything different than the suggestions that I've made here. We're always looking for ways that we can do things better. So I would love to hear from you guys. And if you have any questions for me about anything related to sinking funds or anything else for that matter, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Or if you prefer, my email is always listed down in the description, and you can email me as well at thebudgetbounce@gmail.com. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to go down and hit that subscribe button along with the bell so that you'll get notifications whenever we have new videos. And if you're new here and we haven't met yet, I'm Jen, and I am a wife, a stepmom, a human resources manager, and a grandma, aka Lala. Our 16-year-old and 21-year-old kiddos live with us, along with our daughter's fiance and our granddaughter who's 6 months old. We are living life on a budget and appreciate all of you being our accountability partners. Until next time.